Hey everyone, welcome to another recording session for the Polite Society podcast presented by the Second Amendment Foundation. Your staff today joining me is John Richardson of the Only Guns and Money blog, Rob Morse of the Only Guns and Money blog, the Slow Facts blog. He also does self-defense gun stories, and Amanda Suffecool of Eye on the Target Radio. You could consider her one of my bosses because I do her video production most Sundays. We're gonna be getting the recording started here in just a second, and we've got special guest tonight is Trish Harrold of the Nebraska Firearms Owners Association. We're going to be talking about Nebraska probably getting the permitless carry law finally going through. This week is the critical week. We'll be talking with her about that going forward soon. I need to get social media finally totally connected. I'm working on that as we speak. And
final connection done.
Yeah. Thing is, Facebook will not let me do that, and it's still for those of you on the SAF's page, it's not letting me. It's not letting me pick up comments off SAF. So if you're on the Polite Society podcast page and you're watching us there, you can comment on that video, and we'll get the comments there. SAF, unfortunately, I won't see it. If you have a Twitter account and you want to get in, just comment with the hashtag PSPodcast. That is the fastest way to get a comment in. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, you can comment on the video there, and I will get the comment, and we'll, as soon as the delay on YouTube catches up with us, and I'll get the comment in. So let's go ahead, and if I haven't even, again, I'm running so far behind from the bullet. Have we got the intro all? Yeah, somebody jumped in and wrote the intro up. And so I think we're ready to go. My team ready to fly?
Ready.
All right. Let's do this then. Masad Ayub coming up in 5, 4, 3.
Hey gang, this is Masad Ayub from the Pro Arms Podcast. I'm here to remind you that our podcast is a member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. And I'm going to suggest you do what we do and check out the other podcasts at selfdefenseradio.net.
Treat every firearm as if it's loaded.
Never point a firearm at anything you're not willing to kill or destroy.
Keep your finger off the trigger until you are on target and ready to fire.
Always be sure of your target and what lies beyond it.
Hi, and welcome to the Second Amendment Foundation's Polite Society podcast. We're recording this one on Monday, April the 4th, 2022. I'm Paul Lathrop.
I'm Rob Morse, and on tonight's show we talk with Trish Harrold about Nebraska's permitless carry legislation.
I'm John Richardson, and we'll talk about another increase in firearm sales.
And I'm Amanda Suffecool, and we're going to talk about Georgia becoming number 25, maybe. So, climb aboard.
Strap in.
And hang on.
Episode 619 of the Polite Society podcast starts right now. All right, it's Monday night. It's 6 p.m. in the only time zone that matters. Rob, you are back. You were underwater for a few weeks. How's it been going, man?
I'm dried out and I don't like it, but that's a separate issue. I was on Bill Frady's Lock and Load radio show. I recorded another episode of Self-Defense Gun Stories, and I carried conceal every day now that I'm back. John, I know you've been busy.
Yeah, I played Grandpa this weekend and thoroughly enjoyed it. Other than that, it's been mostly work and schoolwork. Graduation is a little more than a month away, and I'll have my associates in hunting and shooting sports management. Given the ATF, I doubt I will ever want to apply for my FFL, but I really have learned a lot. Finally, with all due respect to our listeners in Kansas, go Tar Heels. Amanda?
So I'm assuming that's a sports analogy thing there?
Yes, the University of North Carolina Tar Heels are playing for the national championship tonight.
Got it.
That's
After we finish recording.
Basketball, man.
Basketball. Okay, got it. So for me this week, I have been on the phone pretty much, it feels like every hour of every day for a full week. The Donald wants to come to my county to do a rally. And my county's folks aren't real thrilled about it. They don't want him. And so there's a whole lot of conversations going on, and I don't know where it's going to end. I really don't know where it's going to end, so now we wait. And, Squee, I have less than 3 weeks to go until I am formally retired from my engineering job. 3 weeks.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
Paul, what about you?
Well, I'm going to start. It's same old, but Susan is busier than a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest. Susan, are you, unmute your microphone and tell everybody what you're doing.
Is it unmuted? Is it working?
There we go.
It's a new headset. I feel so special. What have I been doing? I've been working on AmCon. I've been updating websites. I've been working between 45 and 50 hours a week. I'm planning for a USCCA instructor course here for me and Paul, so we can get our USCCA instructor, so we can go to Legally Armed in Detroit. I'm working on getting the packing list set up so we know what to take to the Mingle and to the NRA show. That's about it.
Yeah, we're in full-blown planning mode. About a week ago, I got the final. As a matter of fact, this is a little dangerous. I'm leaning off camera here a little bit. Last time I showed something on camera, I got us pulled down from YouTube. Yeah, I think this is safe because this is not firearms equipment, but I got this little guy delivered. It has not been opened yet, but I got an ATEM Mini, which is a piece of switching equipment that I need to do a mobile studio. And I'm going to, this week, I'm going to take apart about a third of the studio in here and put it together in the living room. It's going to be called a mobile studio. The only part that's coming apart is, and Amanda, I promise I'll have it back together. What I need to take apart is what I use to broadcast Amanda's show on Sundays. If I take that part of this apart, then I can broadcast anywhere I go, and I can leave this set up, and I can broadcast when I go down to the Mingle, when I go down to the NRA show, and most importantly, I can do a multi-camera broadcast with audio and a real deal, no kidding, good, there you go, good mixer when I go down to GRPC and AmCon. So
I am practicing with the exact same thing to be able to take the show on the road. So,
yeah.
But not nearly as technically oriented as you are. I'm like, I don't even know which button to push.
Oh, well.
And you're building all the buttons, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know whether to push the red or the green. Someday I'm going to take a picture. I've got computer stuff wrapped around me to run Polite Society and the Bullet. I have 5 monitors, 2 computers, 1 monster mixer, and there are 2 cameras that are set up in here now. I've got 2 more that I could use, but I don't. So, but all that, most of that is going to be set up to go on the road. So, it's like the flight deck of the Enterprise.
I'm telling you. And somewhere in here, I have a picture where I could actually put me on the deck of the Enterprise, but I promised when they got the green screen that I wouldn't do that, at least on SAF's Airways. And we were already getting comments in. I want to do this here real quick before we get too far off track. I want to talk to everybody a little bit about Self-Defense Radio Network. The tagline, all your pro-freedom podcasts in one place. You can see us up there on the top left, Riding Shotgun with Charlie is there. Rob's Self-Defense Gun Stories is there. Of course, Eye on the Target Radio is there. You can listen right off the website if you choose. If you want to subscribe, all the subscription information is there for every podcast. There are 15 shows there. I'm hoping the Bullet gets added in there very soon. That would make 16. And we're also looking to grow the show, the network. So if you have a show that is freedom related, get a hold of myself, get a hold of Amanda, get a hold of Rob. We'll get you on the network. So anyway, come visit the network at sdrn.us and listen to any or all of the podcasts you see there. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's step aside to break, and when we come back, we'll talk with Trish Harrold, who is very patient. I'm very patiently waiting for us. We're going to be talking about Nebraska. They've been flirting for a couple of years with permitless carry. It looks like it's got a real shot this year. We're going to talk about what has to happen, and we'll get to that right after we hear from ACLDN. Hang on, folks. Right back right after this.
This portion of the Polite Society podcast is brought to you by the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network. If you carry a defensive handgun, you need protection from the aftermath of prosecution. Even if you do everything right, you can be the victim of an overzealous prosecutor or even be falsely accused. That is where the ACLDN comes in. They provide immediate assistance when you need it most. If you find yourself under arrest, they immediately pay bail money and the retainer for your attorney. Additional funds are available for trial and civil proceedings. Beyond the money, they have far and away the best team in the industry, providing you invaluable information and training DVDs that are included with your membership, and who stand ready to work with your lawyer on your defense. People like Masad Ayub, John Farnham, James Fleming, Tom Gibbons, Emmanuel Capelson, Dennis Tueller, and led by Network President Marty Hayes. Initial membership is only $135 for your first year, and you get 8 incredible training DVDs and other educational material when you join. If you don't have tens of thousands of dollars to defend yourself at your disposal right now, you need to be a member of the ACLDN. Go to armedcitizensnetwork.org and become a member today. And please mention that you heard about them on the Polite Society podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the interview segment of the Polite Society podcast presented by the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining us tonight, Trish Harrold. Trish is the president of the Nebraska Firearms Owners Association. Trish, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me, everyone.
So let's get started with, as I said before the break, Trish, Nebraska's been, for the last couple of years, Nebraska has flirted with permitless carry. The last 2 years, it kind of died in committee. This year, it looked like it was going to do the same thing, but about 2.5 weeks ago, it suddenly came to life again, and it came out of committee. It got. I'm not that familiar with Nebraska politics, but my understanding is the original sponsor of the bill pulled it out of committee. Is that right?
That is correct. Senator Tom Brewer, who put forward LB 773, is a man of his word, and with the committee not responding to the thousands of Nebraskans who contacted each committee member in support of this bill, and they failed to even give it a vote in committee, Senator Brewer kept his word and did a pull motion, which basically moves it from the committee so it can see the light of day on the floor of the unicameral.
Very cool. So last week, that happened about, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Last week in the legislature was earmarked for budget. And then my understanding is this week is earmarked for everything else that has to be done before the legislature wraps up for the year. And that includes this permitless carry bill. So what if Nebraskans are interested in getting this permit carry bill through, and if you're a gun owner in Nebraska, you certainly should be, what do Nebraskans need to do to help this go forward?
So right now, we cannot assume that this bill will not be heard. I have every indication from all of my sources at the state capitol that we will have our second day of debate. We got to select file. So we are going to have our day in court, if you will, and we need all Nebraskans who honor our constitutional rights to reach out to your senators by mail, by phone, and even better in person, and let them know how strongly you support LB 773 and that you expect their vote to be yes to get it passed to the next stage.
Now, one other thing, and then I'm going to turn this over to my colleagues here. I'd heard that there may have been going to be a carve out for the Omaha area, that there may be permitless carry for most of Nebraska except for the county. I think it's Douglas County is Omaha. Is that, am I off base there, or is that really a possibility?
So I have great news. Historically, I can completely understand how that rumor came about. That has been a political technique for Douglas County and particularly the Omaha metro area in the past. However, that is not the case. There is no special carve out for any section of our state. Permitless carry would be recognized without limitations across the entirety of our state.
Very cool. All right, I'm going to open this up. John, Amanda, Rob, any questions you guys have?
Yeah. When I was at the SHOT Show, they had a symposium with a number of governors, and your governor was one of them. He has said that he would support it. I mean, am I understanding correct that he will sign the bill if it's presented to him?
I strongly believe there's no question of that. Governor Ricketts has been a very consistent supporter of the Second Amendment and Article 1, Section 1 of the Nebraska Constitution. He's been a supporter of our Second Amendment sanctuary county movement. We have literally all but 2 counties in our state that have declared themselves sanctuaries for the Second Amendment. He did a proclamation in recognition of that effort. So there's no question that if it goes to his desk, it'll be signed into law.
That's great news.
Trish, I've just observed this and I don't understand it. Lots of so-called conservatives, I have to call them liberal Republicans, don't want to be seen voting on constitutional carry. Can you explain why?
Well, what we've seen across this political landscape is it's a whole lot easier to get voted into office with, commercials and testimonials about where you stand. But it seems like our elected body is afraid to take a stand and actually stand up for their principles. So it's a lot easier to just get into a maelstrom of debate on the floor, say some good sound bites, and never really be held account.
Gotcha.
The people in Nebraska have woken up, though, and we are absolutely tired of that, whether it's tax reform, quote-unquote criminal justice reform, or Second Amendment rights. We are no longer satisfied. And so if our elected representatives don't represent us, we're going to elect them out of office.
I want to get a comment in here. Dana over on the YouTube side says DeSantis is hoping to revive it, meaning permitless carry, in special session later this month, and he's referring to Florida. Will Nebraska get it done before Florida? Let me break that down into, do you think, first of all, Trish, that Nebraska will get it done?
So there is a very, very strong chance that it will get done within the remaining days that our state legislature has to meet. If, in fact, it doesn't happen within the time frame, our next move is to demand for a special session. We are tired of waiting. The people of Nebraska have spoken. We've been fighting for this since we amended our Constitution in 1986, which really was our first attempt at permitless carry, 1986. And if you look at the first paragraph of our Constitutional, our Statement of Rights, I don't know how we don't already have it.
So talk about that a little bit, if you would. What this amendment of the Constitution in 1986, what was that and what brought it about?
So what brought it about was Nebraska had a fairly quiet political landscape with regards to Second Amendment rights. We had some outside organizations come in and attempt to try to represent our points of view. We had some federal legislation that was threatening our traditions. And so the people of Nebraska went through a very rigorous process, very time-consuming and very costly process to get an amendment to our Constitution on our ballot. The language of Article 1, Section 1 is as abundantly clear that all lawful purposes for individuals to own, possess, and transport a firearm shall not be infringed by the state or any other subdivision, which means really to us, when you read the language, that having to have a Concealed Handgun Permit Act in 2006 to be passed, to be able to carry concealed, to have to deal with the various city ordinances that live across our state with regards to firearms, those shouldn't exist. But unfortunately, I'll say a lot of our elected representatives have ignored that. And now that's why we're here with LB 773, and we will be doing everything in our power to get it passed.
All right. Charlie Chambers says, Omaha Berkshire Hathaway meeting is April 30th. Can we carry? And let's say Berkshire Hathaway, that's not exactly friendly territory as far as company wise, but
that's a great question. So the location for the actual event itself is privately owned, and they have it posted no carry. Matter of fact, the location requires any bags to be clear plastic. So they're very much anti-self-defense. But of course, there are tons of other activities with regards to the Berkshire Hathaway event that happens across Omaha. And all of those individual business locations can establish their preferences for permitting carry or not. So just be careful. Look for that signage. It's supposed to be conspicuously displayed by the door before you enter.
So
don't do like me and just vote your proxy.
There you go. So you had said that you want all Nebraskans to write to their senators. Do you believe that it would do any good to talk about the fact that that number 22, 23, 24, and 25 states of constitutional carry have passed in the last couple weeks?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
That is very important to share because it's all about precedents. And so a lot of the senators who are, against LB 773 like to use hyperbole and exaggeration to basically say that if we get this passed, we're just going to have blood in the streets in Nebraska. We're going to erupt in some chaotic violence. We're surrounded by constitutional carry states, except for Colorado. Again, almost 25 of our states in the U.S. have passed permitless carry. We have over a decade of data to show that none of the concerns that individuals are having bear any truth. So we're looking forward to facts and logic overcoming that.
Yeah,
if not,
go, Rob.
Trish, if not facts and logic, at least strip away the lies behind which politicians hide, the soundbite, the emotional appeal.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people believe what they want to believe. You meet a guy who doesn't want to carry. Well, they said it would cause blood in the streets if everyone could carry. They believe what they want to believe, and we're going to just have to keep telling them, no, those aren't the facts.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Trish.
Yeah.
Nebraskans, when you get a hold of your senators this week, tell them you want them to boldly go where 25 states have already gone.
I love that. One of the exciting things that is coming about our work this year with constitutional carry is NFOA has decided, as the Nebraska Firearms Owners Association, as the voice of the Second Amendment in our state, we want to get people on the record before they actually get elected. And so we've actually began a campaign with our director of media, and we have developed a set of questions that our members have decided they want to ask all the candidates who are running for a role that would have an effect on the Second Amendment our exercise thereof. And so right now we're scheduling between now and the late April, senators, people running for Congress, people running for governor, people running for city council, attorney general, and sheriff across our state. Each of those candidates will have an opportunity to answer those questions in a recorded interview, and we will be releasing all of the interviews on the same day, a week before the primary, so that individuals can come to our channel and review all the candidates' positions and answers. And none of the candidates can use each other's answers. We want it to come from them rather than be able to benchmark off each other. So we're really excited about that. We've gotten an incredible response of people across the state running for office who want to participate in this effort.
Well, and speaking of your director of media, we've got John chiming in, and he says, signs do carry the weight of law here. Speaking of the signs in Omaha at the at the Berkshire Hathaway meeting. And he also chimed in and said, Rob, feelings don't care about facts.
Well, to some people they do. We may not change every mind with every fact.
True. And I'll just add, when it comes to the signs having the power of law, we also have the not unique necessarily, but kind of rare. It's not a trespassing charge. It's a firearms violation if you violate the signage. So it has more weight in this state.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Let me ask you a question, Trish. You have a handful of Indian reservations in Nebraska. Are they going to be considered separate? Will they have their own carry regulations, or will this carry across onto the reservation?
Generally speaking, the majority of tribes in our state adopt the same principles that the state law does as well. There may be some unique constraints with some particular reservations, but I'm not aware that there wouldn't be the right to carry on those lands as well.
All right, well, we're coming up on the break. Trish, can I have you hang out for one more segment with us?
Sure.
All right, folks, we are going to step aside to break. We're going to hear from the good folks at CNJFO. We'll be right back right after this.
New Jersey is a civil rights wasteland where an unconstitutional law known as justifiable need keeps ordinary citizens from exercising their right to bear arms. New Jersey spits in the eye of freedom, ignores the Bill of Rights and the Heller decision. New Jersey politics are an anti-civil rights bulldozer and a spreading cancer. The Coalition of New Jersey Firearms Owners, a tax-exempt nonprofit, has a goal to defeat justifiable need, reverse course on all anti-freedom laws, and render aid to other jurisdictions by filing Supreme Court-bound litigation. CNJFO is a beacon of freedom behind the Iron Curtain in New Jersey. Join CNJFO's strong, enthusiastic patriots. Support the Coalition of New Jersey Firearms Owners today. Protect all our rights and return freedom to the Garden State. To donate or learn more, go to cnjfo.com.
All right, we are back. This is the second interview segment with Trish Harrold. This is a Polite Society podcast powered by the Second Amendment Foundation. Trish, I want to lead off here. If this comes through, and I actually believe it will, if it goes through the legislature, passes, and the governor signs it, here in South Dakota, traditionally, our laws take effect July 1st. If the legislature there in Nebraska passes it, the governor signs it, when would it take effect in Nebraska?
It would be late summer as well. We have a similar rotation. We have 2 sessions of the unicameral, so this is sort of that winter-spring session. They'll be breaking for the summer and then returning back in the fall. And so we would see it going into effect within the next few months.
Okay. And again, opening it up to my folks. Anybody?
Yeah, has Have you gotten support from some of the larger firearms companies in Nebraska? I'm thinking Hornady.
So when it comes to support, we have had a tremendous result in our outreach, primarily at the grassroots level, so really the individual citizens. The Nebraska Firearms Owners Association is all volunteer-based, so we're not an organization that reaches out for money. We look for sweat equity. We want people to show up at the hearing. We want people to show up on the day of the debate. And we've had members, large and small, from our largest supporters like Hornady to the mid-size ranges that we have across our state, sending people and information to their members, allowing us to have events in their locations to do education and to kind of ramp up support. So one of the things that I am so excited about is the momentum that we've achieved in the last year and a half, from the sanctuary county movement through this bill, LB 773, with constitutional carry. When this passes, we strongly believe that the doors are now blasted open, no pun intended. State preemption, true castle doctrine, eliminating the duty to retreat when you're not in your home or place of work. We need to begin to chip away, if not take a sledgehammer, to so many of the statutes and restrictions we have that no other state around us has, and Nebraskans deserve that same freedom.
Well, I want to pivot I want to stay pretty much on topic, but I want to pivot just a little bit. I want to ask you a little bit about Nebraska Firearms Owners Association. Unlike most state groups, one thing that's unique about your organization, Trish, is that it doesn't cost a penny to join you folks. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Our founder went to the Gun Rights Policy Conference and was inspired, came back to Nebraska, and reached out to his circle of friends and family and founded us, the Nebraska Firearms Owners Association. And he had the forethought to create an organization that would not be beholden to donators, not create infrastructure processes or expensive ways of doing business that would make us desperate for membership dues or desperate for member donations. Our communications, our newsletters, our calls to action don't use the sky is falling technique that some other organizations may use. We find that distasteful. We want to give facts. We want to tell people how they're empowered. We want to educate them on how to take action. And all members of the board and all volunteers role model that. And we've done so since NFOA was formed. We're committed to that. We're not going to change. We've had some large organizations come by and send us a phone call or chat. And matter of fact, it's happened the last couple times this last year about how much money I'm not getting as president of NFOA. If why don't we just charge for membership? And I'm like, I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing this for freedom, and that's priceless. That you can't put a price on that. So we're proud when we stand in front of our elected officials that while we are a lobbying organization, we are not a paid lobby. We are a citizen lobby, and that makes a big difference.
Yeah, so you're not making a lot of money as president of NFOA. You're not, and I know John, your director of media, he gets a nice title, but you're not giving him a huge check for what he does.
No, John gets my love and appreciation.
Well, hey, let's underline that though. There are a lot of civic positions that are considered stepping stones. Oh, I was on a local water board. Oh, I was on a school board, et cetera, et cetera. Many of them not paid at all. You guys are doing a wonderful thing. You're doing it for the love of liberty. If you have any aspirations of higher office, you can very credibly say, I paid my dues. I've shown that I was responsible when I had the trust of my fellow citizens in my hands. Good job, and thank you.
Thank you.
And John just chimed in. He said he makes twice as much as you do, Trish, at NFOA.
He does. I think he gets all of our cryptocurrency donations.
Oh!
Since he's our online media guru, yeah, I'm sure that's what's happening.
But
I don't think he has a place to turn them in for actual cash, but...
There you go. You do have some expenses. So does that mean that those who donate are also donating time, talent, and treasure to keep things running? Or do you guys do fundraisers or something to help?
We do a few fundraisers. We do have ongoing individuals who donate on a routine basis. We've had members who've been members since our formation who have donated $10 a month for their entirety, and they haven't turned that spigot off. And so we do have, a bank account. We do have expenses, but I'll tell you that we've gone up and down a couple $1,000s over the course of the year. Let's see, since 2014, since I've been on the board, we've never gone past 7 up or 7 down. So we keep it a certain target for our bank account. We spend our money wisely. And a lot of our volunteers and a lot of our members of the board simply cut our own checks to purchase things to support NFOA.
Okay. Yeah, and that's one of the things that you see when you're seeing an organization that's run based on heart and mission, that people donate all of it, their time, their talent, and their treasure, because this is what they believe in. And so it's sort of like having a hobby. You just don't have the golf clubs or the boat, right? Same thing.
Yeah. Amanda, I have to share a story. We have a gentleman, a young man, family man. He was our Gun Rights Champion Award winner last year. Just a tremendous individual. And the last time we interacted, he sent me some pictures of how he set up his SUV because he's sleeping in the parking lot of the gun show. And that's to keep our costs down so that we didn't have to pay for a hotel, because he had to travel quite a bit of ways to attend this gun show. And he sent me pictures of him eating at the truck stop and what a delicious dinner he got. And, we're always proud of when we can be really frugal. And at the same time, very few people will know that he did that. So I just had to share it. Aaron Whalen, you are an amazing young man.
I think that's great, because those are the life's adventures that make storytelling later on. Because otherwise you're going to be like, oh yeah, I stayed at a hotel. Yawn. But it's the adventure stories that really have heft.
Yeah, that makes me feel about this big, because I used to brag how I would take my truck with this nice, beautiful, comfortable sleeper that I slept in all the rest of my time. And I'd go to these events, and I thought, I'm really sacrificing because everybody else has got nice hotels, and here I had the bed that I slept in all the rest of the time. Yeah, big deal.
Hey.
All right. Well, we're quickly coming up on the let's see here. You get this in. We've got a comment that just came in. Let me get this in quick. Mike says over on the YouTube side, that is wonderful that you don't draw salaries. I get 2 to 3 emails a day asking money from other 2A groups. That just makes me want to hit delete, delete, delete. And Trish, if somebody, you don't need to live in Nebraska to help out in Nebraska. What I would like you to do, if you don't mind, I want you to plug how people can help out in Nebraska, and I'm sure you would be willing to help if somebody lives in a free state like South Dakota, like Texas. If somebody wants to help out Nebraska, how can they do that?
Well, come visit our website, nebraskafirearms.org. You can join as an affiliate member, again, no cost. That keeps you informed about what's going on in our state. On the chance occasion, we do have a fundraiser, and you want to help us raise money for a very specific event to help us move something forward in our state, we would welcome that. We're not going to bite our nose to spite our face. The other great thing is our surrounding states, family members and friends of NFOA, you have reached out to us, the board of directors, with great ideas about what's going on in your state, some great legislation that we can benchmark off. So if you have that, we'd love to hear from you. You can email us at info@nebraskafirearms.org.
Very cool. Again, we're running up on the time we have. Trish, I want to thank you so much for taking time and telling us about what's going on in Nebraska. And I want to say, everybody, please, in your prayers, include the legislators in Nebraska to help guide them to do the right thing this year.
Thank you so much for having us today.
All right. And, folks, we are going to step aside to break. We're going to hear from JPFO. When we come back, we've got our news segment. We'll get to that right after this.
In 1928, Germany required its citizens to register their firearms, making possible Hitler's 1938 Nazi Weapons Act, disarming all Jews. Now ask yourself, what is the real consequence of registration? All in favor of gun control, raise your right hand. Brought to you by Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership, America's aggressive civil rights organization. JPFO.org.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the news segment of the Polite Society podcast, presented by the Second Amendment Foundation. I've got things going off in my ears all over the place. Susan, are you back? I know Susan got up to let the dogs out here a second ago.
I'm here.
Okay. All right.
Come on, man. You gotta hurry up.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started on the news. Let's go. What do we got up first, Susan?
Reports of increases in firearm purchases within the United States following Russia's invasion of Ukraine have proven to be more than just rumors. The NSSF reported that the background check figures for purchasing a firearm increased by 300,000 over February, and 25 states have at least one qualified alternative that allows purchasers to bypass background checks.
Those increases are on top. Last month, that's on top of the 5% of all adults who became new gun owners during the COVID lockdown. So this is a wave on top of a wave. John, what do you see?
Well, where citizens can own guns, those countries are rarely invaded. Look at Switzerland, look at us.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Makes so much sense.
Well, I have a very firm grasp of the obvious. We're getting demonstrations every evening on the news. Oh, you citizens, you couldn't do anything against, tanks and nuclear weapons with and I'm going, oh, really? Have you heard of Afghanistan? Have you heard of Ukraine? You sure you want to wade in here? You might want to think twice.
Exactly, and yeah.
Oh, come on, you'd say it better than I did. What were you thinking?
Well, no, I just read an article, I think, in the Atlantic, which is traditionally very anti-gun, and one of the points, this article was about Finland, and how every Finn is trained every Finnish man is trained as militia for a short period of time, and it's the reason they have not been invaded since the Winter War by Russia. Right. Russia's like, we did that one time before, and we lost 7 times as many men as the Finns did. It didn't go that well for us.
Which, in some sense, that's the defender has like a 6-to-1 advantage. Amplify that if you send your troops into Finland in the winter. That's a brutal environment. You all have to be right on your game, or you're going to eat it. Ukraine is farther south, but they have the mud season. Y'all don't want to go there. What'd Michael say?
Michael over on YouTube says, Japanese Admiral Yamamoto is claimed by some to have said, you cannot invade the mainland United States. There would be a rifle behind every blade of grass. Yeah.
Yep, and it makes sense. I mean, there are so many people who are sitting here looking at the Ukraine and going, okay, if I get called to do that, what am I going to do? And so they're looking at pictures of mothers and grandmothers. There's a mother with this rifle slung on her back, holding her kid's hand while she's walking them to school. There's another picture of what looks to be a woman of a certain age. My guess would be either not very well preserved or heading into her 70s. One of the two. Learning how to shoot a rifle. They're saying, if not me, then who?
And right. I can't help it. I've got to be a little bit of a smart aleck here. I was out in our yard today, a rifle behind every blade of grass. I looked at our lawn today. I've got some catching up to do. I've got to get a lot more rifles.
At this time of year, you have blades of grass. That's what I thought you were going to say. But
really? I got probably 8 or 10 blades of grass.
In the entire yard. There we go. Now
I still got some catching up to do.
All right. Oh, okay. Be that way.
Dana said, same as sending into Russia in winter, ask Napoleon and Hitler.
Right. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, or South Dakota would be in. I wouldn't want to. I don't want to be in South Dakota in winter. I mean,
I want to be inside in the winter, not outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm certainly not going to invade Anchorage, although Anchorage is actually nicer than Sioux Falls in February because they're right there on the coast. But same kind of thing there. Susan, what do we got next?
Matt Gallagher made a trip recently. He thought he was going to Lviv as a journalist to document a group advising and training the city defense force. Instead, he became a trainer, joining his 2 friends who were there to do the training. All 3 are American combat vets. They took tourniquets instead of guns and taught basic urban combat tactics and survivability to teachers, bus drivers, IT workers, and the like. To any of our viewers or listeners, please be wary of your state laws. Many states have passed laws which make this training illegal.
Yeah, I read that story the other day. It was an excellent article. They were there for about 2 weeks. One guy had served in Afghanistan in the Army. Another was a Marine. The guy who brought them together was an American who had married a Ukrainian woman, which is why he was going there. And they taught them marksmanship. They taught them close quarters combat. They taught them how to fight in an urban environment. They taught them how to survive.
Wow.
I was specifically looking at California's laws this weekend, and 2 people getting together to practice team tactics is illegal in California.
Just say you're playing airsoft.
It's routinely claimed that militaries are run by non-commissioned officers. If we're lucky, they are. Russia has undermined its non-commissioned officers. It's sergeants, it's warrant officers. We, because of the way we've really abused our volunteer armed force, many deployments, unprecedented levels of activity, we now have veterans who are the world's best at standing up a fighting force. There's a lot that the world could learn from our non-coms. Yeah, I believe they're wanted overseas, not just to fight, but to train.
I want to remind everybody over on the Second Amendment Facebook live feed, for some reason I cannot get comments picked up over there. If you want to comment on Facebook, go over to the Polite Society podcast page. I'm getting comments from over there. Second Amendment Foundation page, the comments are not coming for some reason. So, but we are getting YouTube comments, and Dana is saying, check out History Underground YouTube channel. He adopted 2 kids from Ukraine and has suspended his videos and volunteering at the border with Poland. That, and one thing, I love that people are doing things like that. Susan and I, we are big fans of the Food Network, and I know that has nothing to do with guns. It's just something we find entertaining is watching the Food Network. One of the personalities on the Food Network that we enjoy watching is a chef by the name of Mark Murphy. And Susan, I'm going to have you help me chime in and help me here. He is gone. I do not remember the charity off the top of my head, and my brain is starting to freeze up. But
World Central Kitchen.
He's this world-class chef has gone to help feed refugees on the Poland border with Ukraine, and that astounds me that people in that high up in society would go give of their personal time and take not insignificant personal risk to go do that. So good on you, Chef Mark Murphy. All right, let's see here. Michael, I'm sure he's referring to the rifles. Hey, Paul, make it 3 or more. I'm there, but I need to get as far as rifles. I'm there, but I'm. There's a lot of blades of grass in the lawn, so I still got work to do. Anyway, Susan, what's next in our news roundup this week?
Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont's bill to address spiking violence in the state cities advanced to the Senate floor, but not before it was stripped of provisions to stop illegal ghost guns and expand their assault weapons ban. The bill does include $2.5 million for a task force and a feasibility study for setting up state licensing of gun dealers.
I was just reading an article today where I think it was an FBI crime lab was saying, look, just because there's not a serial number on it doesn't mean we can't see where the various parts were purchased. We can also test fire it ballistically with a number of different bullet manufacturers and go, oh yeah, here is the slug we recovered from a crime scene. This is probably the gun who did it. Okay, now we can concentrate. So you can scrape off a serial number, but it still is a unique firearm. John?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I mean, any firearms examiner worth his salt or her salt would tell you that. No, I was going to say there's a feasibility study to set up state licensing of gun dealers. Gun dealers are already licensed by the federal government. State licensing of gun dealers is a boondoggle. I mean, just look at Illinois. It's making the goal of it is really to increase cost of running a gun store so much that it drives the mom and pop stores out of business and leaves the large big box stores who can be swayed by corporate corporate blackmail.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now the interesting
they're doing that in Maryland right now.
Yeah. The interesting thing about this Connecticut thing was the bill. So Ned Lamont, when he gave his State of the State, and he said that if you're not doing anything about guns, you're not doing anything about crime. I mean, he alluded to the fact that only crime happened because of guns. So he really was pushing for all of this stuff. Holly Sullivan, the girls from the DC Project, the folks from the CCDL, the folks from the NRA, there was a couple other groups. they did these virtual testimony days, and they testified deep into the night. Well, the pressure was on enough that they took a bill that I think it was 53 pages long, maybe it was 59 pages, and stripped it to 3 pages. They stripped out, it was 52 pages, because they stripped out 49 pages of legislation and left 3 in the bill that progressed and went forward.
Charlie and I talked about that on the bullet here about an hour ago, and they did a fantastic job. And I mentioned it on the bullet, and I'm going to mention it here too, in case she's watching. We need to get Holly on the air in the very near future. She's done absolutely fantastic work, and I think she needs to be lauded for that.
She was on Cam and Company today.
Okay.
And she said she just fixed her, she's texting me while we're on the show, basically right now. So she said she fixed her internet issues, so she's ready to go. So she doesn't have to, because before, whenever we wanted her, she would have to go to an office somewhere away from home. And so it really, really affected her evenings. So.
Okay. All right. Susan, let's talk about Georgia.
On Friday, the Georgia Senate voted to give final approval to legislation to allow permitless carry in Georgia. The bill goes to Governor Brian Kemp's desk, and he tweeted that he looks forward to signing the bill.
Well, go, Rob.
I remember in Ohio, and Amanda brought it up before, but I'll steal her thunder. Sorry, Amanda. These governors want to retain their job. They're being primaried. Every day they don't sign, their primary opponents are going to stand up and say, he's a rhino. I would have signed the bill already. So we'll see how long it takes the governor to sign.
Again, we talked about this on the bullet here, and where's my button? I've been hitting everybody else's button. I cannot. There's my button. We talked about this a little bit on the bullet, and I had an interview earlier this afternoon with a trainer in Georgia, and the Governor Kemp has 40 days from today, so he has until really late May to decide to either sign this, let it become law without his signature, or veto it. If he vetoes it, it's political suicide.
Well, didn't he say he wanted the bill?
He did. He did. Yeah. So it's for Kemp. It's really, when is the best time and the best juxtaposition to sign it? Earlier. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you and Amanda, Rob, and that's earlier is better. But we'll have to wait. It's kind of a wait and see. Also, my understanding is, and I'm not a lawyer, I don't play one on TV, and I stayed in my own darn bed, not in the Holiday Express last night. My understanding is as soon as he signs the bill, it becomes law. So, yeah.
Interesting. So I think in some cases like this, where he knows he's going to sign it, he's stated he's going to sign it. He's actually, it's not the pro-gun folks that he's courting right now. It's he's trying not to anger any more than he has to the anti-gun folks. And so signing it, right on the heels of 2 major shootings in, well, the one in an absolute anti-gun location, where they're calling for more rifle control, even though I hear that they were pistol shell casings that they found up.
Stolen at that.
It was a stolen handgun. It was some thugs playing.
Right.
So
I think that there's you end up with some of that. Where you're trying to dance gently on the glass.
We get a couple comments in here. Dana says, Purdue said he would get it passed, so Kemp got off his and got it done first. And then Michael says, gun-related murders and crime are carried out by a predictable type of people, criminals, and not legal gun owners. Also, no gun laws or gun-free zones are going to deter a criminal or crazy serial numbers. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The criminals are going to do what criminals do. Murder's illegal.
Really?
Yeah, and assault is illegal. Last I checked, all 50 states, shooting somebody is already illegal unless you've got a justifiable reason. Murder is illegal unless you've got a justifiable reason. Anyway, let's see here.
Then it's not murder.
Yeah. Let's, Susan. I want to talk. But we're coming up. We're at the top of the hour. I want to talk, Susan, about this next story. I think we're going to cut the news segment short. But this is a good one. This is a good story.
SAF wins legal case confirming the right to print your own guns. Defense Distributed won a case against the U.S. State Department, and that legal case said Defense Distributed could publish and export the computer-aided manufacturing files for printed firearms and for firearms machined at home. The Attorneys General in New Jersey and Washington State sued to say they had jurisdiction rather than the State Department. A judge in the Fifth Circuit said they did not. We'll see if the state attorneys generals appeal their case to the U.S. Supreme Court. I suspect the AGs will do whatever Bloomberg tells them to do.
Amen to that.
The New Jersey requested to be separated and to take the case to the Second Circuit, which is New Jersey, Delaware, and Pennsylvania. And the Fifth Circuit, or Third Circuit, I'm sorry, and the Fifth Circuit said, no, you, New Jersey, you get your butt down here, and oh, by the way, you're going to abide by our decision. I love that. I absolutely love that.
The Fifth Circuit being where Defense Distributed is located in Texas.
Yes, and is Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. A little bit more conservative of an area than Delaware and New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Nothing necessarily wrong with Pennsylvania, but the other two states kind of pull that somewhat left.
Even if it's going to be held in Austin.
Yeah.
Right. The interesting part is I'm going to take you to another story to bring you back. So Washington State was involved in that. Mm-hmm. Washington just recently passed their standard capacity magazine bans. And that ban goes into effect July 1st of 2022. And so anything 10 rounds or more, with more than 10 rounds, so 11 rounds or more, is banned in the state of Washington from this point forward. You can't, you can own them, but you can't buy or sell them. So
starting in July 1st, I think it is. Yeah.
Right. So starting in July 1. Well, Cam Edwards picked up on a story, and he published it in Bearing Arms on March 28th, that starts with, well, this is awkward. Someone within the government of the state of Washington having state property put it up for sale, and they put up a skid of 100 used handgun and AR magazines. And the bid sheet says, this is quite an assortment in this lot. I've noticed, they call it clips for Kimber, Ruger, Glock, SIG, Smith & Wesson, and much more. And the pictures show that many of them are over the capacity limit. Mm-hmm. So here's the state working to get the money for these, get them sold before the deadline, but after they pass their law. So that smudge on their face, I think it's egg.
Yes. Can you say hypocrisy, boys and girls?
I'm actually, well, not compared to California. California would make an exception that said, oh, of course, if you're wearing cheap blue polyester, you're exempt from these laws. Someone now they may just be, used by a training division and these mags are worn out. Buy at your own risk. We don't know. What's interesting is, some gun shop can buy those, pick them up. You sell. Mm-hmm. Was it Magpul that did a similar massive sale into Colorado and then California at various times as legislations have changed?
California dropped their law for 5 days. And while they did, then any order placed, or was it any order shipped by a certain date, by that date? So when Californians had this window, the mag companies stopped shipping any place but California to be able to fill their orders as much as they possibly could before the deadline hit again.
And
I like that.
And my brain is failing me. I'm sorry, my memory isn't working right. SAF partnered with, they are on I-80 in Iowa, huge distributor.
Brownells.
Brownells, yes. SAF partnered with Brownells, and right up until July 1st, if you buy an AR, a aluminum AR magazine, a standard capacity AR magazine from Brownells, Brownells will donate $2 to the SAF because the SAF has announced plans, and I don't know if it's been filed or not, but I know it's going to be. Brownells is going to donate $2 of that to help fund this lawsuit against Washington State.
I think they can't file it until after it goes into effect, so it would be all sitting there and already that July 1 at 12:01 a.m. it can be filed, but
pretty much
not prior to that.
It's kind of like Washington State has kind of gone bonkers, not only on guns, but I think the governor just signed a bill saying that all new cars sold after 2030 in the state will be electric.
Correct.
Coal-fired cars.
Yes.
So Washington folks are going to be walking.
Yeah. Or horse-drawn carriages. The last thing I want to bring up about this is I'm working, and no guarantees yet, I'll know later in the week, working on getting Alan Gottlieb to come on the Saturday edition of The Bullet. That airs at 12 o'clock noon Central Time on Saturdays. So stay tuned to The Bullet, and I'll let you know later in this week if we can get it confirmed. He may be on a plane. He may not be able to make it, but if he's not on a plane, he's going to be on the Bullet this weekend. I'll be talking a lot about that and about all the other things SAF is up to. So, let's see here. I think we're up over the top of the hour. Big shock. Let's do this. We were doing so good. We were out of the interview segment actually just a minute or two early. So let's do this. Let's go to break. We've got to get to our defensive gun use segment. When we come back, we'll have that. We'll be right back right after we hear from JPFO.
In 1928, Germany required its citizens to register their firearms, making possible Hitler's 1938 Nazi Weapons Act, disarming all Jews. Now ask yourself, what is the real consequence of registration? All in favor of gun control, raise your right hand. Brought to you by Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership, America's aggressive civil rights organization. JPFO.org.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Defensive Gun Use segment of the Polite Society podcast presented by the Second Amendment Foundation. These discussions are not legal advice. Some of us are trainers, but this is not formal training and you need formal training. The Defensive Gun Use segment is intended as information, not as training. As always, the opinions of the hosts are only their own opinions and not those of any sponsors or other affiliations. Susan, take us, specifically me, take me to Las Vegas, will you? Did Susan step out of the... I think Susan stepped...
No, Susan's here.
Okay.
It's all right. Calm down. You knew we couldn't go along without an ex-boyfriend behaving badly story, right? Notice we almost never hear of ex-girlfriends behaving badly. Maybe they don't do it so that it requires a DGU. At 4:30 a.m., a Las Vegas woman called 911 to report her ex-boyfriend. I'll refer to him as Harry Vanderspiegel. He was trying to break into her home. She was not alone in the home. Also inside were her 3 children and her current boyfriend. Harry tried breaking in through 2 separate windows and eventually got in through one of them. He saw that she had a gun and decided to hastily exit through the same window. Well, Harry's not too bright, you see. He came back with his own gun. As he pointed his gun at the only unarmed person, her current boyfriend, the Las Vegas mom proved that going to the range is good for you and fired 1 time. Harry has now joined others of his ilk and has made the trip to the morgue. While the investigation is still ongoing, it is highly unlikely that the young lady will face any charges.
I covered this on my self-defense gun stories. I found it fascinating that at 4:30 in the morning, she had the presence of mind to be on the phone with 911 when Knucklehead breaks a window. She yells, "I'm armed, don't come inside." Then he proceeds to prove that she was right.
This is what I would call the second best DGU. First best, no shots fired, everything ends, bad guys arrested. Second best, 1 shot, everything's done, and bad guy will never harm anybody again.
Well, I just hope he was a pretty boy. You know, he had to have something going for him because he wasn't real smart, and he was her ex-boyfriend. So I hope that he was like arm candy while he was around. That's my one hope.
All right. On that note, Susan, let's go to Philly. Although I don't want to go to Philly.
Pizza delivery drivers have had it hard for a long time. It used to be that they just had to worry about being held up. But now, the bad guys aren't just taking their money. They want to take their cars, too. And we've documented how many of the big name chains deny their drivers the right to self-defense. A 39-year-old man was delivering food in the Kensington neighborhood of Philadelphia when a 35-year-old suspect walked up to him, pointed a gun, and told him to give him his car. The delivery driver, either ignoring company edict or working for a company with some sense, pulled his own firearm and opened fire. He shot the would-be carjacker multiple times. The man was taken to Temple University Hospital in critical condition. The driver was unhurt, and this is one of several reports of intended victims being their own first responder and sending the bad guy on an ambulance ride.
I certainly hope this guy worked for a non-big chain company and that he still has a job.
Yeah.
The number, well, okay. Boy, there's a long chain. You want this cut short. We'll cut it really short. The number of defensive gun uses has gone up 4-fold in Philadelphia year to year.
And we just did a story on the bullet that concealed carry permit applications have gone up 600% year over year.
Yep.
This year. So
I'm sure it has nothing to do with the district attorney who's letting everybody back out of jail who was put in office with Soros money.
Who's
Not
facing
that I have anything
against Soros money? He's not facing a recall. I think he's facing an indictment, John. Do you know about that?
Oh, jeez.
I don't. No, I think the one in the Soros district attorney in L.A. is facing.
That's a
either
recall.
he or recall, yeah.
Along with Chase Aboudin and SF, right?
The son of terrorist.
I'm wondering when the people in Santa Clara, California, are going to rise up and recall their sheriff. Lori, what's her name? Lori Smith.
Yeah. I think she's not running for re-election.
Oh, okay.
She's in her 70s.
Well, she certainly got the
If
money.
you have enough money, you too can get a carry permit there, though.
It's going to take you one of the suites in the Sharks auditorium.
Box seat. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to get that. So anyway, yeah. Wow. I'm telling you, brain is. I'm having challenges tonight. My apologies. There comes a point in time, especially for you delivery drivers, and for anybody in the audience that happens to drive for Uber or Lyft or DoorDash or Grubhub or does pizza delivery, it abounds where it's against company policy to carry a firearm. And when I drove truck, it was against company policy to have a weapon in the truck. There comes a point in time when you have to decide, is the job worth your life?
Well, the mindset is they were looking for a job when they found that one. As long as they're healthy, they can look for a job for the next one. So they need to survive the encounter to be able to go look for another job.
And in my case, when I was a truck driver, I was looking for a job the first time I got a truck driving job. I never looked for a job after that. They always looked for me. So, and I would say if you're a good at your job, you very rarely look for jobs anyway. They come looking for you. Anyway, let's go ahead and take our last break. We need to get John out of here because I'm sure he's got basketball on the mind. Let's take our last break. Then we're going to talk about what we're up to in media, and we'll shut the show down. Hang on, everybody. We're going to hear from the Complete Combatant. We'll be right back right after this.
This portion of the Polite Society podcast is brought to you by The Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant is designed for a broad base of citizens that range from students that don't own a gun on up to advanced students that train often. The Complete Combatant offers several different courses that build upon each other, from avoidance, using verbal commands, and preparing for contact, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, your 911 call, interacting with the police, to even dealing with the legal system in the aftermath. The Complete Combatant courses are a layered approach for all levels of experience that will walk you through all the many stages of decisions while developing a game plan tailored to your skills and your everyday carry. Please visit www.thecompletecombatant.com and make sure you mention this ad to receive 15% off. Again, that's www.thecompletecombatant.com and mention the ad for 15% off.
Welcome back to the final segment of the Polite Society podcast presented by the Second Amendment Foundation. Normally, I would ask Rob what's up at Slowfax, but he changed the show notes on me, and so I'm going to ask John what's been going on at Only Guns and Money.
Well, the other big news of the week, other than Georgia, is that the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence is closing up shop. Their sister organization, the Educational Fund to Stop Gun Violence, is merging with Bloomberg-funded Johns Hopkins Center for Gun Violence Prevention. The new organization will be called the Johns Hopkins Center for Gun Violence Solutions. The name has changed, but the agenda remains the same. Use spurious public health research to push for more gun control. With the growth of Everytown and Giffords, bit players like CSGV became more and more irrelevant. All they could do is stomp their feet and accuse people of being insurrectionists and gun extremists. I was a gun extremist by them. I imagine, really, I think it's only going to be a matter of time now before the Violence Policy Center is taken over as well, so that it'll be just the biggies, the big companies in the gun control industry. That and more is at onlygunsandmoney.com.
I'm going to go off on that just a little bit. You know, we just had Trish on from NFOA, and there are on the freedom side, there are all kinds of organizations all over the nation like NFOA. There aren't very many anti-gun organizations other than the big ones anymore.
Or their state affiliates. Yeah.
Yeah. They're paid state affiliates. I don't know of very many grassroots at all.
Yeah, with CSGV, they raised about $500,000 a year. They spent about $500,000 a year, and $150,000 of that went to Josh Horowitz, who is their executive director.
Yeah.
All right. Rob, is there anything you want to tell us about any media you're doing?
Not right now.
All right. Amanda, what's going on with Eye on the Target Radio or with Women for Gun Rights?
Well, those two are just kind of chugging right along. So we're on Ops Lens on Friday nights and on Sunday nights, and all of that. Do I have anybody coming up that's overly special? No, we're just kind of doing what we're doing. The big thing that's coming up is the Concealed Carry Fashion Show, and that's kind of where we're spending our time and effort at the NRA annual meeting. And so that you'll hear about that for the next 6 weeks or so.
Well, and if you're watching us on Ops Lens, I'm going to make sure, and Amanda will make sure, that you're going to be able to watch that Concealed Carry Fashion Show on Ops Lens. That's part of the mobile studio thing. We've got cameras set. We got a 4K camera setup that's going to that. We're really building up for that. So we're talking end of May. So we got to work up for that. But there's big plans for that. So on my end, just this Saturday, I'm really looking forward to the weekend edition of The Bullet. I mean, of course, for Monday through Friday, please tune in at 5 p.m. Central Time. But on Saturday, please do tune in for the weekend edition of The Bullet at noon Central Time. I'm hoping to have Alan Gottlieb on. If not, we will still have the regular lineup, and Rob Morse is going to be there this weekend. We'll have a full weekend review show. I'm hoping to have Alan Gottlieb on, and we'll have a good show for you. But that is going to wrap up another episode of the Second Amendment Foundation's Polite Society podcast. I'd like to thank Trish Harrold for joining us today. So for Amy, Dana, Tracy, John, Susan, Amanda, Robin, Charlie, and Rob.
Until next time.
Stay safe.
And be aware.
And we'll see you down the road.
The views and opinions on the show you just heard are those of the host and the guest and are not necessarily the views of any sponsors or other affiliations. But hey, not everyone is as smart as we are.
All right, I am going to shut the stream down really early tonight. There's not going to be hardly any post-show at all. Thank you, everybody, for commenting. Thanks for watching. I need to get this thing out on podcast as well as I need to get the Bullet out on podcast. And I need to get some dinner in me. I am starving. So thanks for participating, everybody. We'll see you